Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Wallflowers class. So for Wallflowers, we generally use a wall. That's the main prop. If there's anything else you like to have, then go for it. I would suggest maybe having a soft cushion nearby. You could even use a bolster. Sometimes having something between kind of the wall and the floor for you to sit on can just make some of the poses a little bit more accessible. And if you don't have a wall space, you are welcome to follow along as well. You could do the same props, or the same poses rather, but instead of doing them up against the wall, you could do them kind of like we would normally on a mat. But if you are coming with me, we'll start off with legs up pose. If you are using a soft prop, you can bring it just up against where the wall and the floor meet. And then what I'd suggest is to come into it, you can come onto one side and then lift your bum up onto the prop, bringing it as close to the wall as you can. And then from here, you can swing the legs up towards the ceiling and then just take a little time to get yourself comfortably situated on your prop. And then check in here, just make sure that it feels good with the block underneath the hips. Sometimes if the prop is a little bit on the stiff side, then it may dig into the low back. So if you'd rather use a rolled up blanket or something like that, go for it. And then it might feel good now. At some point, if you want to remove it, that's fine as well. Awesome. So once you feel ready, once you feel set up, then check in. Find a distance between the feet that feels steady for today. So if having the feet together feels better, then go for it. If you want a little distance, then go for that. And then as well, check in, maybe adding a bend to the knees would make the shape just feel a little more comfortable. Maybe the breath is a little more easeful. So feel free to play around with that as well. And then find a comfortable place for the arms. Maybe they're somewhere beside you or overhead. Maybe they're on the body. And if it feels okay to close down the eyes. And bring your attention to the body and take a scan from the feet to the head. And just notice what everything feels like here. And then when you're ready, invite some movement back into the legs, maybe pedaling a little bit, maybe pointing and flexing each foot. Awesome. And then when you're ready, we'll bend the knees, so walk the feet down a little bit. And then we'll take the soles of the feet together and take the knees wide apart. Now find your version of butterfly. So if you like to play with bringing the heels a little closer to the pelvis, go for it. If you like to be in more of a diamond shape, go for it. And then see what the legs feel like unsupported. There is always the option to use the arms, so you might need to adjust where the feet are to make the shape work in your body. If it feels okay to let them float, that's fine too. Or maybe you have some props nearby. If you have a couple hard blocks, you could put one under each leg. Take your time to settle in here. If there's any other part of the body that needs a little adjustment, then go for it. Also, if you're feeling a little bit chilly, then maybe you want to grab yourself a blanket or something. And then with the support of the hands, gently guide the knees back together. You can walk the feet up the wall a little bit and then take the feet just a little bit wider. See if you can press the knees in towards each other just until you feel a stretch for the outside of the legs. Awesome. And then maybe just a gentle windshield wiper side to side. Now we'll take the legs wide apart so you can re-extend them up towards the ceiling, maybe keeping a soft bend, and then slowly let the legs open up nice and wide. Now, while this is happening, you might think about a slight external rotation for the hips. So you might imagine that the toes, instead of pointing behind you, they're pointing behind you and a little bit outwards. So see if that gives you a little bit more space to work with in the pelvis. And then just like in the butterfly shape, you want to make sure that the feet are mostly even here and see how you'd like to support the legs if the legs feel like they need some support. So again, it might be propping up with the arms or some props. And take your time to find your version of the shape to get settled into it. And then once you do feel settled in, one more option to add on here would be to extend the arms up towards the floor overhead. Adding a little bit of a side stretch here, you might start to walk your hands and where the crown of the head is pointing a little bit over towards the right. And it doesn't have to be a really deep bend here. If it feels better to bend one or both elbows, then you might choose that as well. If the spine is arcing towards the right, then slowly bring yourself back to center. Now check in if anything shifted in the lower body that you need to adjust, then go for it. And then when you're ready, head, arms start to point a little bit up towards the top left. And if you're over to the left, then slowly bring yourself back to center. Now think about supporting the legs, adding a bend to the knees, and then once again sliding the legs a little bit closer. A windshield wiper might feel like a good release once again. Awesome. And then once again, you might take a moment to position yourself a little closer to the wall if you feel like you've shifted further away. And then from here, we'll take the right leg extended up towards the ceiling, and then we'll bend the left knee and place the left ankle on top of the right knee, or rather, in this case, it'll be slightly below. Ideally, not pressing directly on the knee just because it might overstretch the leg a little bit. So check in to see what this feels like here. You could also brace with that left arm, maybe giving you a little more sensation through the outside of the left hip. And then from here, if this feels like plenty, then you can stay. Otherwise, you might think about slowly adding a bend into that right knee and then play it by ear, see how it goes. Stay mindful of the left knee. If it helps you to flex or point the left foot a little bit, then go for it. And then pause when you feel that edge of sensation approaching that you don't want to go past. So think about the shape a little. If you want to support yourself here, maybe you're propping for that left leg or for the right leg. And if it feels okay to close down the eyes, settle in here for a few deep breaths. And then slowly start to re-extend that right leg towards straight. And then release the left leg as well. And swish the feet side to side a little. Maybe a tap of the backs of the knees to the wall. And then from here, bending the right knee, right ankle just below that left knee. And check in here, see if things feel a little different, if there's just different history on either side that you want to look out for before you go any further. And the option to stay here, or when you're ready, think about bending that left knee. And don't worry too much about what the pose ends up looking like. We tend to have a side that is more flexible than the other. So whenever you feel ready to find that pause, maybe to brace the leg a little bit, go for it. And slowly think about re-extending that left leg up the ceiling. And then the right foot can join it. A little movement, however feels best in the body. And then from here back to center, rebending both knees in towards the chest now. And then reach through, see if you can catch hold of the feet or the ankles. Find a happy baby. If it feels better to remove that other prop now, then go for it. A happy baby, it might be stillness, it might be a rock side to side. Mindful of the low back here, especially. Awesome. And then from your happy baby, coming down to a fetal position on one side, just like we came in. And then from here, any way you can roll down onto your back. We'll take one active pose as just a final counter pose for all the shapes that we did up the wall. And that's a bridge pose. You might start off with the elbows down by the sides, and fingertips up towards the ceiling. Take a moment to plug the feet into the floor. And then don't worry about lifting the hips really high or anything. And we'll stay for maybe 3 or 4 breaths. But when you're ready with an inhale, press the shoulders and the feet down and lift the pelvis up any amount. Now check in with the body here, find that full body engagement, and take a few deep breaths. Awesome. When you're ready, slowly lower the pelvis back down to the floor. Maybe feet wide and knees rest in. Maybe hands somewhere on the body. And from here, when you're ready, we'll set up for a rest pose. I'm going to rest in a seated meditation today. If you're happy on your back and you want to stay here, then go for it. Or if you want to take the legs back up the wall, you're welcome to do that as well. If you're coming with me to a seat, you might roll down to one side and then make your way up any way you like to get there. And see if you want a prop to sit up off of, feel free to add that in. And take your time to get comfortable, whatever your chosen shape. Making any adjustments on the body as well. And then letting the eyes close down, letting your breath return to normal. And settle in here. And slowly deepen your breath once again. And if you're in a pose other than a seated meditation, then take your time to exit and you can come join in a seat. If you were sitting the whole time, then if you want to release the legs a little bit, maybe give them a shake out, go for it. Or if you just want to switch the cross of the legs, perhaps collecting the hands in at the heart, maybe bowing the chin in towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for a Wallflowers Yin practice. And again, my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and have a great night.